Call the meeting to order for the Wicomico County Council, August 7th, 2018, special work session. First item on the agenda for this open work session is the enterprise fleet management. Hang on a second, guys. Okay. Mr. Nick Price, good afternoon. How are you? If you could introduce yourselves, gentlemen, for the audience, and then I'll open the floor to you.
Okay. Nicholas Rice, Purchasing Agent, Wicomico County.
Eric Armbruster, Enterprise Fleet Management, out of our Baltimore office.
Okay.
Mark Warner, Government Marketing Manager for the Northeast. I am where I work out of our St. Louis office where we're corporately headquartered. My role is to help just with government agencies across the Northeast to support our local offices.
Okay.
All right. So I've been working with these gentlemen here with Enterprise for several months now, looking into a way of kind of right-sizing our fleet. We have as you'll see tonight, we have a very aging fleet. So I thought it was a good idea to look into partnering with Enterprise Fleet Management. What we would like to do tonight is give you guys a little bit of an overview of what we've been discussing and kind of get your guys' feedback before moving this thing forward. So at this time, I'll let Mark and Eric kind of go over their presentation. They've given out handouts, as well as there's a small clip video that they want to show at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
And then we'll open it up to questions after that.
Okay.
So I'll start off. Good evening. First, I'm going to start off with really who Enterprise Fleet Management is. Everybody in the room obviously has heard of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I'm sure at one point in time you guys have rented a car before. You see TV commercials. We sponsor, hockey, NCAA. What you probably don't know about is our fleet management division, and that's because that is strictly for businesses and government agencies. So that's what we're going to focus talking about tonight is our fleet management division. I'm going to go over the first page of the packet that was handed out to you, and then I'll open it up from questions from there, so we can dig into any questions that you might have, any concerns you might heard about before. So the first thing is we looked at a subsection of your fleet, which is 128 vehicles. We didn't look at the sheriff's department, so we left them out of the analysis for right now. We do have the ability to work with sheriff vehicles, which is something new that we have started to do over the past 24 months. Sheriff departments, police vehicles, we can do your typical police utility interceptor with lights and sirens and everything on it. But for tonight, we left that out. So just know that. One of the first things we looked at is what your current situation is. As Nick had said, 54% of your fleet is over 10 years old. And everybody knows aged vehicles aren't as efficient, have higher fuel costs, have higher maintenance costs. So we take the look at it as, if it was our fleet, Enterprise's fleet, how would we manage those vehicles? That's why I referenced Enterprise Rent-A-Car, because if anybody's ever rented a car, it's always been a brand new vehicle with low miles. Because we figured out that holding the vehicles for a long period of time wasn't as cost efficient for us. So we're going to take that approach to your vehicles and your fleet as well. So the objective is to, like I said, lower the age of your fleet, reduce your operational cost, and in turn that's going to help you run a more efficient fleet. The way we're going to fund these vehicles is through an open-ended lease. And I'm going to take a second to talk about that because I know that everybody's heard that word lease. And I don't want you to kick me out of the room yet because that word lease is not negative. The open-ended lease has no mileage restrictions, no wear and tear restrictions. It has a flexibility. So if we lease you a pickup truck and it's a $30,000 pickup truck, we write it down to a residual. Let's just say it's $10,000. And after 5 years, you operate that vehicle for 5 years, and after that 5th year, we sell it for $15,000. You get the difference back from what we sold it from to what was on the books, which would be that $10,000. So you get that $5,000 back, comes back to the county that you could use as a down payment on your next vehicle that you're going to replace it with. So the common theme that I always say is your current asset is going to fund your future asset rather than that money having to come out of your capital budget to replace your vehicles. Now you're starting to cycle your vehicles out at the right time, having more equity in your vehicles, and they're going to start funding the program. That's what all the counties in the Northeast and other government entities are looking at is ways to lower their age of their fleet without spending as much money in capital budget, and which is then going to reduce your costs, because the more vehicles you bring in, the lower your operational cost is going to be, because you're going to be running a newer fleet. As a result, thought there might have been a question there. What we looked at was doing this over a 5-year period for your whole fleet, over a 10-year period, because we want to show this being a sustainable model. There's a $772,000 savings. Moving from an average cycle, today you're at a 15-year cycle, which means you hold your vehicles in your fleet for about 15 years somewhere, probably passing it from department to department. And we would cycle all those vehicles every 5 years. We show a 10-year plan so we can show you that it's a sustainable model. So you're getting each vehicle twice. Year one alone, what Nick and I and Eric looked at was what your current purchasing model looks like, which would be spending about $210,000 to acquire vehicles. We could actually lease you 43 vehicles with that same dollar amount, and you would save $127,000 in year one. If you look at page 2 and 3, there's going to be the cost analysis component to it. I'm not going to dive into that tonight because that's getting a little bit too deep. I wanted to open it up for questions first. If you have questions about that, then I can certainly answer them. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to open up and ask me questions about how the program works, maybe other counties that are doing it. There's 2 case studies that you'll see at the back of the packet. One is from a county in Pennsylvania. Another one's from a county in New York. These are articles that they wrote on our behalf, and they sent them to us. It's not something that we wrote. They did it for us. The one thing that everybody here in the room knows is you have constituents at other counties and municipalities that you know, and everybody likes to share their ideas of what's working and best practices. That's what's going on with those case studies. And that's what we're going to show in the video later, is another example of a county coming on board, being a partner with Enterprise, and why they decided to do it. So I'll open it up to questions.
John, do you have a question?
Sorry.
Mark, do you plan on cycling this in, or is it one time, they'll all come in at one time?
Great question. So we're not going to replace all 128 vehicles day one, because financially and operationally that wouldn't make sense. If I try to deliver 128 vehicles to you in 3 months, you would have problems.
And if you're talking about a 5-year program, that means you'd all be going out in 5 years.
Correct. So what we looked at was year one, how we could maximize your budget. So if you're used to spending $210,000, how many vehicles can I lease you in year one for that same amount of capital dollars? Because now I'm getting rid of all the vehicles that are costing you the most on the maintenance side and the fuel side. But also, let me take one step further, John. We're not gonna, if we do 42 vehicles in year one, that's what we're proposing. I'm still not gonna deliver 42 vehicles in 1 month.
All right.
I'd probably do a certain amount each quarter. So operationally, it's a little bit easier for you.
How many other operations do you have like this in your district?
In the Northeast?
You're a region or a district?
Yeah, I cover the whole Northeast.
Okay.
So there's 10 offices in the Northeast that I support, and there is 150 government agencies that we work with.
Good. Good.
Anywhere from a city to a town to a county to a housing authority, to a parking authority, water district. So it's not just counties that we work with.
Who's your biggest competitor?
Our biggest competitor, well, I would actually probably have to ask you in regards to what, just leasing vehicles or fleet management? Because those are 2 different things.
Well, we're talking about fleet management, right?
Okay, fair enough. Our biggest competitor for fleet management is probably Acme, because they have a fleet management division. The one thing they don't have is a dedicated account team. So you have myself, you have Eric, you'll have a dedicated account manager that's assigned to your account that'll meet with you every single quarter. And then you also have a fleet strategy manager who's based out of Eric's office here in Baltimore area that would meet with you as well.
Okay.
So that's why I asked the question, you looking for leasing or fleet
Right.
management, because
Different
anybody can
areas.
lease you a vehicle and can lend you money, where that we do a lot more than that.
So, how do you get paid? Do you get paid up front? Do you get a cut of the savings? What's in it for you?
Fair question, yeah. I only smiled because Nick and I talked about it before, because when we were at Kent County and we did a similar meeting, they asked the same question. Our true profit is in our management fee. So there's a management fee on a monthly basis per vehicle that you lease. It's about 25 bucks per month per vehicle.
So,
That's your profit,
That's our profit stream. yes.
$25 a month per vehicle.
Yep.
so.
Our goal is not to lease you 10 vehicles and never talk to you again. Our goal is to lease you whatever makes sense financially and operationally, and over time, have your whole fleet.
And I guess this is a question for Nick. So obviously, this, you know, this all sounds good. We obviously have to look in the details. But if we want to do something like this, are you thinking that this should be bid out, or what's your thought on that?
At
Or-
the,
or
at
do
the
you
end
want-
of, at the end of the handout, there's actually a sheet of paper this is from a cooperative, this has been bid out from a cooperative contract.
Okay.
And it was awarded to Enterprise Fleet Management. The agency's called TIPS. I believe it's based out of Texas, is that correct, Mark?
Where it's based out of, it's called the Interlocal Purchasing System. Kent County used that to satisfy their due diligence needs.
Yeah, so in terms of when we deal with cooperatives and many other things as well, this satisfies the purchasing requirements that we have within Wicomico County.
So if we wanted to do this, you wouldn't go?
We wouldn't
Okay,
bid it
so
out, no, we would utilize, piggybacking off of this contract, directly with Enterprise Management.
Okay, this is a 2-year-old contract, though, I mean,
Yes, then they're in year 3 of their
Yep.
renewal, and then there's actually 2 one-year renewal options to them as well.
all right.
In the agreement, a couple of things.
Make sure you do it, Jeff.
I got it. In the agreement, there's nothing that locks us into having to replace all our vehicles with this. We could do some or all.
No, that was one of the questions I had. Basically, their fleet management is a recommendation. The final say is done within the county. So if they recommend that we replace a vehicle or we don't, or we keep a vehicle or we don't, ultimately their recommendation will come through us, and then we'll make that decision.
Well, the other part of that question, if we decide, if we're into this agreement with them, Enterprise or anybody else for that matter, and we decide that we have a vehicle that we don't want to lease, that we want to just purchase outright, are we bound by that agreement to have to lease it?
No.
Okay. The maintenance, I noticed in our brief book, it's got quite more detail than you had in your handout. Tell us how the maintenance is handled. I see you have 25 different repair locations found locally. How do we choose who, and what's the process? Do we have to get bids, or we just take it to the one that we like the best, or what's that?
No, maintenance is very easy. So built into your monthly lease rate is what's called full maintenance, which means that any maintenance that's done, if it's just regular preventative or a blown engine, transmission, something like that, is fully covered 100% and can be taken to any of our service partners. As you can see, there are several. If there are shops that the county prefers to use that for whatever reason are not partners today, we can add them. It's free for the shop. All they do is download a quick link. It's a software that allows us to pay them directly within 72 hours of the service being done. Along with that maintenance being covered, all maintenance data will flow through to the county's individual portal. So department heads or county administrators, whoever would make sense, have access to see either portions or the entire fleet and can see broken down from inception of the program all maintenance that has been done life to date on a per vehicle basis, when it was done, and how much it cost. Your dedicated account team can then use that same maintenance data to make better recommendations about replacement schedules for your existing fleet.
How is maintenance done today? Is it done by county employees?
It's done at the roads department, as well as there's some things that are taken to shops locally as well. It's kind of, I would say it's kind of a mix right now.
So does that mean there'll be less need for county employees?
I've talked with with actually Dallas, with the Director of Public Works, and his response was, no, they have plenty to do with the heavy equipment machinery that they work on now. I've talked to some other department heads, and the reasons why they've taken their vehicle for certain repairs or services outside of roads is because sometimes they're so backed up that something as simple as an oil change or a small repair might take a lot longer than if they were able to go get it done quickly somewhere else.
to jump in on that as well, the full maintenance program is not a requirement on every single vehicle for the county by any stretch. So what we'll see a lot of times with counties that have county employees doing maintenance as well is that some departments will outsource their maintenance to the private sector, while other departments will continue to funnel the maintenance through their county employees today. And that is broken down again on a per vehicle basis. So it doesn't even have to be by department necessarily. So only the vehicles that you'd like to outsource for efficiency's sake, we can outsource. Everything else can remain in-house.
And I guess it might be a good idea to give you kind of an overview of what the county does now, currently. So currently, we purchase our vehicles off the state of Maryland's contract. We then rely on the departments pretty much to maintain that vehicle. They then come during the budget time and recommend if it needs to be, and ask if they think it needs to be replaced, then that ultimately will come up to you all. And then, so the process right now, that we really don't have a full fleet management system, which is why you see that some of these vehicles are hanging around a lot longer than they should and are costing us a lot more than they should. So that part of it, let alone, is one of the things that actually excites me about the program itself, is having somebody that's watching over and looking over the fleet and making recommendations based on analysis that they are doing.
Joe, you asked one question, and I'm going to touch on it. You asked who makes the decision on the vehicles and how many vehicles you do per year. I want to take that answer one step further. So if you come to Enterprise, or we meet with you folks, and you say we need X amount of pickup trucks, and they say it's a 3/4 ton, 8-foot bed with a plow, we'll show you what a Ford cost, a Chevy cost, and a Ram cost. And we'll show you side-by-side comparisons, and then you make the decision on which manufacturer you want to go with. But we're providing you with the due diligence to show you what the cost is for each one, so you can have an educated decision on which one makes the most sense for the county, because our goal is to provide you with education on what's going to be the lowest cost of ownership when it comes to owning and operating those vehicles.
So, with this maintenance program, who is ultimately going to be responsible for doing the maintenance and repairs of these vehicles?
So it's your responsibility, it's the county's responsibility
It's
to.
the county's
It's
responsibility.
the county's responsibility to get the vehicle to the shop. We have maintenance reminders that will go out, and you'll have online access to be able to see those reminders. So what we do is we'll send a reminder to either a department supervisor, be the first reminder saying this vehicle needs an oil change. If it doesn't get an oil change in a certain period of time, then that'll go to his immediate boss, whoever you guys designate that to be.
So the county's still going to be responsible for paying for the oil changes?
No, it's
not
your
paying,
responsibility.
sorry.
It's your responsibility to get the vehicle to the shop.
To the shop.
You're gonna pay $33.92 on average for the maintenance. It will be a per month bill. If you take the vehicle to the shop and it's an $800 bill, Enterprise pays the $800.
And if there's a blown engine, you'll pay for that too?
We would pay,
Exactly.
as long as you got the oil changes done on time. If you have 80,000 miles on your vehicle and you never did an oil change, then Enterprise is probably not
I'm
gonna.
having a hard time thinking that this $25 a month is going to be profitable to you guys if there's a couple blown engines after
It's
warranty.
not. You're 100% right. If you have 100 vehicles with us and you blow 20 engines, we're gonna lose. Yes.
How many counties and municipalities in Maryland are doing this with you guys now?
Great question. So we have 8 entities in the state of Maryland, and the reason that number is not as substantial as the rest of the Northeast is because 12 months ago, the state of Maryland looked at if Enterprise leased you a vehicle, that you still had to pay the taxes on it, where if you went out and you paid cash for it, you were tax exempt. Because they looked at it as Enterprise being the title owner of the vehicle, that we had to pay the taxes on it, which will pass through to you. We've gotten that change past that legislation 12 months ago. Actually, it happened in September, so a little shy of 12 months. Now it's the same, because we were able to show that the government agency is the end user of the vehicle, so there's no difference whether you pay cash or you lease. Now it's an equal playing field, which has helped us gain more momentum in this field.
And
So you
as
say
we,
there's 8?
and as we mentioned earlier, Kent County, Maryland was one that just signed on fairly recently. I want to say a couple months ago.
Is that going to be the only county right now? You said 8 entities, but you didn't say how many counties.
I think that's the only county as of now. There's Prince George County Public Schools,
Okay.
under the county. We met with Dorchester County earlier today. They're moving forward with us. So it's just like anything, nobody wants to be the first person. Say yes. Nobody wants to be the last person. So that's sort of where we are right now.
And to touch a little bit more on that maintenance program, Larry. So as he mentioned, the maintenance program is covered the full maintenance program is covered in our lease payments. So the way that it actually would work is the end user who's ever driving the vehicle would bring the vehicle to one of their stations locally. They have a card in that. It's not a credit card. It's basically a card that is an enterprise card that indicates that this vehicle is part. Yes. And I'll let you guys touch a little bit further on it, but my understanding of it is if it's a small repair such as an oil change or something like that, they'll go ahead and do it. Larger repairs, they actually call in to Enterprise and deal directly with Enterprise's team to make sure that what we're having repaired, what we're having done, cost efficient, those types of things to make sure that they're not just doing repairs that aren't needed.
Yeah, the reason we do that, it's called our National Service Department. The reason that we do that is because from an efficiency standpoint, we want to make sure your car gets in and out in a timely manner. Whether it's a $3,000 repair or it's a $20 oil change, the bill still comes to Enterprise on the full maintenance plan. We're just looking at it from an efficiency standpoint, making sure the right stuff's done at the right time. And also, if your vehicle's in at 30,000 miles to get an oil change, we're going to recommend that they do all the stuff, services that need to be done at that time, so you don't have to bring the vehicle back in 2,000 miles.
And to touch on that really briefly, Nick, so the call would only come to the county if it's one of the county's existing fleet today. Any vehicles that are acquired through Enterprise, because all maintenance is built in 100%, no call is needed, there's no sealing, whatever repairs need to get done will get done without having to ask you for authorization. We'll just get those repairs done, again, even if it's not profitable for Enterprise.
When you bring in vehicles to replace some of the vehicles we have, I suppose we're responsible for the disposal of the vehicle we already have.
No, we can sell both Enterprise leased vehicles and the county's existing fleet as well. Here in Baltimore, or in Maryland, I should say, but my office is in Baltimore, we're very efficient at selling vehicles. We average about $1,000 more than the Black Book, which is like an auction pricing standard similar to the Kelley Blue Book. And that is number 6 in our company out of 700 remarketing teams.
And currently, the way that we handle our vehicles now is we either sell them on an auction website called GovDeals, or we bring them to a local auctioneer. Again, this is one of the other benefits of the program. The reach that we would have by selling a surplus vehicle through Enterprise versus in-house is definitely going to reach more individuals and get a better return on our sale.
And that return's extrapolated a little further because, if this replacement schedule starts to happen, you're going to be selling vehicles that are obviously much younger, much lower miles. So that number is just going to be far greater, and any government entity is uniquely positioned because your buy is so competitive on the front end that really the depreciation over the first couple of years, sometimes with your buy, you're in a positive position right away. And Enterprise has that same luxury as Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Our volume is just so great that we can buy vehicles for less than sometimes we're able to replace those. The government is the same way. So fortunately, we're able to replace those vehicles for you much more frequently, and the depreciation expense to the county is minimal. And then obviously your operating expenses drop significantly between fuel and maintenance.
For the open-ended lease and the residual balance of the value, can you apply that towards the purchase of the vehicle, or would that money also be able to apply to the next lease?
So,
If that makes sense.
Yep. So at the end of the lease, whatever money is a proceed that comes back to the county, you can use any way you want. So we can either give it to you back in a check, or we can use it as a down payment on the next vehicle to reduce your acquisition cost. It's your money. You can use it however you want. Most people will use it as a down payment to lower your next vehicle cost.
Nick mentioned that we buy our vehicles now on the state contract.
Yep.
A few years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, we bought a new pickup, and the county did, and I got the paperwork on it, and it came on a state contract, which comes out of Delaware, isn't it? now?
No, no, we buy off Maryland state
Does it-
contract. Now, that doesn't mean 7 or 8 years ago, they didn't buy off the state of Delaware
No, no,
contract.
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The vehicle came from Delaware, a dealership in Delaware. It was on the Maryland state contract, but it came from a dealership
Okay.
in Delaware. Well, I took that quote and run around to a couple of the dealerships in Salisbury and got a better price in Salisbury, well, actually Pittsfield, than I did. So comparing the cost of what we're going to be paying for a vehicle from Enterprise, how is that going to compare to what we could go to a lot and buy a vehicle for?
Great question. So when we order these vehicles, we're gonna go directly to the manufacturer. So we're gonna go directly to Ford, directly to Chevy, directly to Chrysler, whatever one we use. And because we're ordering the vehicle to the exact spec that you want, so if you just need a work truck and you don't need all the bells and whistles, you're gonna get the vehicle that you need. 9 times out of 10, we're gonna come in lower than what you could get at your local dealer because there is no profit that we're making off of buying vehicles on your behalf. It's simply the invoice cost minus whatever the government incentives that you qualify for when you acquire the vehicle.
So you're saying we're going to get it at the cost, the factory cost?
Correct. Unless you tell me you need a vehicle in 2 weeks, then we're gonna find a vehicle on a dealer's lot,
Right.
and we're gonna acquire it that way. But if we're able to look at this from a proactive standpoint, once again, we're not gonna say yes to 42 vehicles, deliver 42 vehicles in 2 weeks. We would phase those in over the next 6 months, call it. Then we're gonna be able to get them from the factory at the lowest cost possible. That's one of the advantages to partnering with Enterprise is we have the ability to go directly to the manufacturers, and we'll sit down with each one of your department heads, and we'll say, what vehicle do you need for the job title that you're doing? Maybe you don't need a 3/4 ton truck, because you're not gonna have it for 14 years. Maybe you need a 1/2 ton truck. Now we're reducing how much you're gonna pay for buying that vehicle. It's gonna reduce your maintenance costs because it's a smaller vehicle. You're gonna reduce your fuel costs because it's a smaller vehicle. We call that right typing your fleet. That's one of the things we would look to do because you're gonna have a younger fleet so you can use it for what you need it for.
And one of the things too to point out is when we do purchase off the state of Maryland contract, we are bound to who the state of Maryland selects for
I
that
understand
year for that
that, yeah,
contract.
yeah.
And as well as what they've spec'd out. So we don't have the luxury to say, we really need this in this vehicle if it wasn't already bid out that way through the state of Maryland. So the ability to be able to go directly through the manufacturer and spec out what we need for the job that the vehicle's being used for is definitely a benefit.
Nick, from what I can see here, it appears that most of the savings are gained through reduction in maintenance and fuel expenses. If we were to purchase new vehicles instead of leasing, we would also be saving through reduced maintenance costs and gas costs.
But like we said, in terms of our average, what we are able to allocate in the budget, we're replacing 7 vehicles on average a year versus 40 vehicles for that same amount by doing the open-ended lease structure.
So what I came up with was you're buying 8.4 vehicles per year. That's your average over the past 5 years. Your average cost per vehicle is $25,052.50. And I based that off of the 17 vehicles you bought in fiscal year budget 18. So that's why I came up with a purchase budget of $210 and $441. So if you went out and tried to buy 42 vehicles at an average cost of $25,000, your purchase budget would be
About $1 million.
about $1 million.
Did you take into account these vehicles, some of these vehicles we bought were specialized vehicles that you won't be doing on a lease? You know, am I correct? We're not gonna lease dump trucks from you, is that correct?
That's not included in
I
this
did not-
analysis.
I did not-
Did you use that in your total of the amount of vehicles we bought?
No, we didn't include sheriffs or any heavy equipment equipment.
Either in purchase or in maintenance or fuel expense.
Okay.
So that 128 vehicles are either sedans or pickup trucks?
Trucks, yep.
And that's not included in the sheriff's office?
That's not including the sheriff's office.
Corrections?
Yes, corrections. The only ones that are not involved is sheriff's office.
Okay.
And that was a choice that I made just based on, seeing if this program worked. And if it's something that works, we can certainly look to see, as they mentioned, they just started doing police vehicles to bring them on. Obviously, they're a little more specialized in what their uses are, versus what our average sedan or our fleet vehicle is.
It's just a standard police package.
Yeah, the main goal through partnering with Enterprises to have a professional fleet management company. Joe, I think you said earlier when we walked in, Enterprise is we buy more vehicles than anybody else in the country. It means we sell more vehicles than anybody else does in the country, so we're really good at it. That's where Enterprise as a company makes their money. We don't make a large profit off of renting vehicles. So when it comes to maintenance and fuel, you combine that with selling your vehicles at the right time, that all sort of filters together.
Does these vehicles come GPS equipped, with tracking devices?
They can, that's not included in this
That's
analysis.
not included.
No.
Our,
Don't we
ours
do
don't
that
now.
already? Don't we do with some of our county vehicles, don't we? Correct. We do, yeah, thought so.
Then that would be done on the road side of it.
And you're saying that the sole source is pretty much,
It's not a sole source, it's a cooperative contract where it was bid out for anyone to bid on. Enterprise was awarded that contract.
and that is through the tips.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I heard you say that, but I
Yep.
just wasn't quite sure what was going on.
And then to touch a little more, John, when you mentioned, looking at would we have the same type of savings if we went out and just bought 42 vehicles versus leasing? That's where the fleet management side also comes in, where, yes, we could technically go budget $1 million, buy 42 vehicles, but we're still relying on the departments to basically maintain, manage, and then we don't have that process now. We don't do that process now. So it's really more so depending on the departments to recommend when something needs to be replaced or holding on to it and not recommending that it needs to be replaced.
You mentioned you'd had 8 accounts in Maryland so far, government accounts. Do you have any private accounts, private businesses that you do this with?
Yes, yeah, we work with,
Large companies?
yes. Yeah, we work with, our typical window is fleets anywhere from about 500 vehicles down to even just 20 vehicles. We can work with, although we do have fleets larger than that as well.
This is, the government industry is unique versus the mechanical contractor or your HVAC company because you buy your vehicles so well that you can replace them a lot sooner than most people. Plus, you don't put 20 or 30,000 miles on your average vehicle, where an HVAC company or a mechanical contractor, that's what they do. So it looks, a little unique. What hurts government agencies is not the mileage you put on your vehicles per year, it's the length of time that you hold the vehicle. That's what makes your maintenance costs increase year over year, is because they're just running less efficient because they're old.
Any questions? Mrs. Hurley, where do we go from here now? This is a work session, of course. Will this come back formally?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we do have some capital funding in the FY19 budget.
Correct.
How does that play into this contract?
Well, so and when we looked at, what we looked at was the amount of funding that's been budgeted for each department. So I guess the next step is we would go through Enterprise and get an agreement drawn up for this, and then I'm assuming we would need to come back before council to move that funding from each department, and I don't necessarily know how we would do that, if we would put it into one capital account or.
I'll have to work with Mr. Strasberg on that.
So I guess the next step would be for me to sit down with Enterprise and actually draft up an agreement, and then come back before you all to go through that agreement and get it possibly approved.
Okay. Okay.
What I would look at doing is duplicating the master lease agreement that we did with Kent County. There are certain things that they asked to be changed in that. So I would just start with that, so then you can review that, because it's already been vetted once.
Right.
And then if there's anything else that you want to talk about, that we could go from there. Because there's a standard master lease agreement that you would sign. And all that is doing is it's Wicomico County agrees to do business with Enterprise Fleet Management Inc. as their servicer and their provider for fleet management services. That's not guaranteeing that you're gonna do business with us for any X period of time. It's not guaranteeing that you're gonna lease any X period of vehicles. It's just a contract for servicing your account.
I feel better that way. Yeah. I think it's worth looking at, you know, and maybe trying a few. How many are you looking at buying to begin with, Nick?
Well, based on their analysis, they were looking at 42 vehicles up front.
Do we have enough budget? for that?
Yes, we absolutely do.
So what happens if after 2 years, we just want to end it, you know, then,
Sure, you have three options.
okay.
The first option is you buy out the vehicles, whatever the remaining balance is, just like you would in a traditional finance. Second option is you just don't lease any other vehicles and you just continue to make payments on those vehicles. The third option is you have us sell all the vehicles that you have on lease, and whatever ones that you make money on, we write you a check for, or you true up any ones that you wouldn't make money on, which probably is not gonna happen because of the low miles you drive and the incentives that you get.
The fourth option is they repossess it.
That's only if you don't pay them. Yes, it's pretty cut and dry. That's why I said there's no, when you sign a contract, you're not agreeing to any term on a contract or amount of vehicles you're gonna lease with us. And we do that because we need to earn your business every single, I don't even wanna say every single year, it's every single quarter. Because like I talked about before, you're gonna have an account management team sign your account. They're gonna meet with you every single quarter to show you what you're doing today with the vehicles you have a lease on us, the industry updates, what vehicles are selling for a lot more than we expected, which ones are selling for less, so you can take advantage of that. Joe, who Eric referred to, who's the fleet strategy manager, I always refer to him as a stockbroker for vehicles, because he's looking at the vehicle trends in the industry and bringing those recommendations to you folks so you can make a decision.
Nick, do you feel we need 42 new ones now at
Yes.
this moment?
Yes, absolutely.
I know every
Just
year
bring
we-
in some department heads that are pushing vehicles down the street every once in a while, and they'll say, please.
Yeah, I know John, he had one give up on him, didn't you? Here not long ago.
9 years. Talking about my car?
No. I know you're not gonna buy a new car. I'm talking about a county car. Didn't you have one give up on you?
Yeah, so
But,
gas pump, gas.
You know, the downside of this is, as council people, a lot of time we get a hard time about seeing, people seeing all these new vehicles running around.
But the realistic,
Brief on that.
the reality of that is we're actually saving money, like we've said, in the maintenance of those vehicles. So if they're happy that we're driving older vehicles, but they're mad that we're spending so much money to maintain those older vehicles, I mean.
Well, I know every year when we get in budget session, we're always twisting our hands on which department's gonna get a vehicle and which isn't.
And that's why my response to you when you said, do we need 42, is absolutely.
One of the things other counties and government entities have done to sort of help that issue of the public perception is to release an article in the newspaper saying, here's what we're doing, here's the cost savings we're projecting to see by getting on a 5-year replacement plan. So now when people start seeing those new vehicles, there's a reason behind it. One of the things that we'll show here at the end is a video from a county in California that was their board meeting when we presented at their board meeting, and what their reaction was to partnering with Enterprise. And this is something that,
How long was the video?
it's like 5 minutes.
Because,
I mean, we can
Maybe you could
we can
email the
we
link.
can email the link to you. Sure.
let's do that, yeah, because
Okay.
we have 2 other work sessions.
Okay.
We have to be out here in 15 minutes.
No problem.
All right?
Thank
All right,
you.
gentlemen.
I'll
Thank
get
you very
some,
much.
I'll get
you,
something
everybody, for your
together
time.
and come back to you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is forest conservation easement relocation. Is Tyler Walston here? Oh, there he is.
Thanks a lot.
Good evening.
I'm Tyler Walston. I'm the environmental planner for the county.
Thank you. Good.
We're looking at an easement relocation on Friendship Road, property owned by Daniel and Melissa Callaway. They have approximately 6.5 acres of forest conservation on their property, and they're looking to relocate or reconfigure 2.77 acres of the easement in order to do a sewage reserve area. Take a look on the plat, the areas in yellow are what are existing currently, and they're looking to move it in the back there in the pink. Since it's going to be on-site, they're allowed to do 1-to-1 ratio, so they're going to replace or have the same area, just on a different spot. They've submitted all the proper paperwork and all that kind of stuff. After a review, staff recommends that council approves the relocation of the 2.77 acres.
Give a little background on this, if I'm correct. They had a perk done, and the perk, they would have had to pump the sewage a couple thousand feet. The health department reviewed it so they could get a better perk at a different location, and this is why we're here tonight, to do this relocation. It's been a long time coming, a couple years now, I think. Has all the advertising been done on this that
Yes.
it needs to be?
As far as
No, we actually need to schedule the public hearing tonight, and we can have that September the 4th at 6 PM, if everyone's okay.
Okay. Any questions? Is council consensus to move forward with public hearing? Yes. Okay, if we could do that, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. As Joe said, it's been a while. Thank you very much. Next item on the work session agenda, Mrs. Strasburg. Good evening. You have 4 minutes.
This will only take 1 minute.
Just have to agree.
Good evening. I believe that you already have some background information. This is the cottage at Adkins Mill Park that has been rented out for quite some time. The tenant who's been there is moving out, or I think has moved out. We had Mark Rickards from Parks and Recreation take a look at the home. We had Pate Matthews take a look at the home, and it's in very poor condition. We would take on significant liability if we tried to rent it to another tenant without making the appropriate repairs, and the value of the home just doesn't warrant those repairs. So we had, it had been recommended to us by both Mr. Rickards and Mr. Matthews that we demolish the home, although since then, Councilman Holloway, Joe Holloway, had a discussion with Bob and suggested that we may be able to sell the home to someone who would want to relocate it to another lot, which, would be perfectly fine with us. The administration would really like to see the county get out of the residential rental business, and this is just one more of those properties that has deteriorated, really isn't inhabitable right now without substantial investment, so we would like your permission to declare it surplus and either demolish it or sell it.
The reason I made that recommendation is the house has a little bit of historical history there. I think it was a store at one time. I think Earl Bradford told me
It looks like it.
was
It
born
looks
there, I
like it.
believe. And when you go to tear something down, we remember what happened at Pemberton. Everybody gets mad. So if we give the community an opportunity, someone the opportunity to buy it, move it if they want it, they have that opportunity. So I think we'd save a little grief by going in that direction. There might not be anybody that wants it.
So did you just advertise that then, or how would that? Okay.
Yep. If we declare it surplus, we can advertise it for X period of time. If we find a buyer, we find a buyer. If we don't, then we'll come back to you and talk to you again and demolish it. We just need to chart out a course with it because it's just going to deteriorate further and it'll become a real liability for the county.
It'd be better to get it done.
Before
Start the process before the winter.
Yep.
Wasn't the tenant doing some maintenance at the park?
Excuse me?
Wasn't the tenant doing some maintenance at the park?
I think the tenant was just sort of acting as an on-site overseer, just making sure there was
No damage or,
nothing going on at the park that ought not be going on.
and that was a courtesy.
That was a courtesy.
Okay.
So was the tenant leasing the property?
He was renting it.
What was he renting for?
I don't know, John, not a whole lot of money.
It's not much of it's not much of a house.
No, yeah.
I forget what the rental was, but it wasn't a whole lot.
So, so the upkeep of the house, let's say over the last 10 years, we just didn't do any upkeep. It sounds like nobody even went out there.
Well, he was living there.
We remodeled that thing here about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Inside completely.
Yeah, it had been
And
redone.
drywall and everything. I remember. Yeah.
It had been redone, I think, by the time I started here. It was inhabited. We you know, I don't know why it fell into the state of disrepair it did, but it did.
All right. Not much to say, is it? So you want to tear it down?
Tear it down or sell it.
Yeah.
Do one of the two.
It's like we don't have any options.
Good.
What did they pay 7 years ago?
Pardon me?
What was the cost 7 years ago?
I don't think it's been taken.
All right, we'll take a recess.
You can actually adjourn.
Excuse me?
You can adjourn.
Entertain a motion to adjourn from the special work session. We will go into a recess for approximately 10 minutes before we reconvene in our regular legislative session. Entertain a motion? Second? Second. Oh, wait a minute. I have to read this, don't I?
That's
Do I?
only,
No, for later.
Usually when they go in there.
Call the meeting to order for legislative session 2018-17 for the Wicomico County Council, August 7th, 2018. Those that like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do. First item on the agenda, entertain a motion from council to approve the legislative minutes from July 17th, 2018.
So moved.
Second? Second. Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to approve the open work session minutes from July 3rd, 2018.
So moved.
Second? Second. Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to approve a special work session minutes from July 17th, 2018.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, minutes are approved. First item we have on the agenda is for recognition of Academic Preparation Month, and we have the Honorable Sharon Morris here to receive it on behalf of President Mary Ashante. Good evening, Mrs. Morris.
Good evening.
Well, it's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
So this proclamation will be read as, whereas earning a diploma from high school is one of the most cherished things that a person can experience in his or her life and one of the greatest achievements. And whereas school daily and having the support of parents to achieve this goal is the best approach to reduce the dropout rates in our school system and to show children that they are truly cared about and supported. And whereas by encouraging students to remain in school, to learn, and to help students understand the importance of following directions and honoring rules as life skills, mentoring each student to learn the value of self-respect and respect for others essential to their lives. And whereas the clearest path for a child to become a productive and responsible citizen is support and encouragement to stay in school, stay out of trouble, and get good grades. By doing this and receiving a high school diploma, the foundation on which to build a productive life may be realized, and the students will see that their dreams can come true. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Wicomico County Council that August 2018 be and is hereby proclaimed Academic Preparation Month. The County Council encourages all citizens and parents to encourage our children to be successful citizens. Done the 7th day of August 2018, signed by the Wicomico County Council, all members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I just say on behalf of Mary Ashante, who was unable to be here tonight, that she sends greetings and she's very appreciative of this acknowledgement for the need for our students to prepare. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris. Second proclamation we have is for a very special individual in Wicomico County, Mr. William Higgins. I see you right here on the front row. Yes, sir. It is you. Congratulations on your retirement.
I've known this guy about 38 years, probably when I was born.
Not my fault.
You're the one that hired me. Can you get that guy in the yellow shirt to come here?
Oh, God.
He just got off work at the beach. That's my son. Okay, I've known this gentleman for a long time. He's been good to a lot of people. He came from Seaford, Delaware, took a job at the Salisbury Fire Department, but became their fire chief, then retired, and then started another career working security for the Sheriff's Department at the courthouse. And we have some deputies and the sheriff here and some staff, and it's good to see these people here to support Chief Higgins. So whereas Fire Chief Bill Higgins began his career with the Wicomico County Sheriff's Department in 2000, working courthouse security, and whereas prior to his career in courthouse security, Fire Chief Bill Higgins served the citizens of Wicomico County for 20 years with the Salisbury Fire Department, starting out as Deputy Chief and eventually being promoted to the rank of Fire Chief in 1992. And whereas Fire Chief Bill Higgins announced his decision to retire after 38 years of serving and protecting the citizens of Wicomico County, and whereas Fire Chief Bill Higgins has always shown dedication to his profession, working many long hours, and was well liked by those he worked with. Now therefore, the Wicomico County Council recognizes and honors Fire Chief Bill Higgins for his many years of dedicated service to the citizens of Wicomico County and wish him a happy, healthy, and restful retirement. Done this day, the 7th day of August, 2018, by the Wicomico County Council. So you can speak. Yes, sir.
Really haven't prepared a speech tonight, didn't even know why I was coming. But I would like to say thank you very much for this award, and it was a pleasure to work for the Sheriff's Department and the council. And I might say I'm proud of this council that we have here tonight. You work together as a team, and you all do a good job. And congratulations, and God bless you all.
Great. Thank you. Looks like you might get a police escort home, Bill. You might get a police escort home. One less ticket you have to worry about. Next item on the agenda, Ms. Laura Hurley. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members, ladies and gentlemen. The first two items on the agenda pertain to an appointment to the Adult Public Guardianship Review Board. In accordance with Section 315 of the Charter, each appointment by the county executive to a board or commission is to be submitted to council at its legislative session for confirmation. Director Wayne Strasburg has formally submitted the name of James Holbrook, which is the first item on the agenda. The next item is Resolution Number 73, 2018, confirming the appointment of James Holbrook to the Adult Public Guardianship Review Board. This board provides oversight of public guardianship cases to ensure that individuals receive the services and treatment for their disabilities.
Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 73, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes.
Okay, the next two items, items number 3 and 4, are also related to each other. Item number 3 is the submission of a reappointment to the Wicomico County Personnel Board, which is to be done in a legislative session. And in accordance with Charter Section 315, Director Wayne Strasburg has submitted the name of Alan Brown as a reappointment to the Personnel Board. The next item is Resolution Number 74, 2018, confirming the reappointment of Alan Brown to the Wicomico County Personnel Board. The Personnel Board hears and decides appeals from any personnel action as defined in the personnel rules, and they advise county officials on matters concerning the personnel rules and regulations, and report to the county executive and county council on the operation of the personnel system.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 74, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes.
Okay, the next item for business is Resolution Number 75, 2018, authorizing Exxon Enterprises, Inc. as a sole source vendor for the purchase of tasers and to waive the formal competitive bidding process for the purchase of said tasers during fiscal year 2019. We have Ms. Ruth Colburn, Director of Corrections, and Mr. Nick Rice, Purchasing Agent here. You'll notice that this resolution and the next several resolutions show a SM behind the resolution number. This indicates that the resolution requires a supermajority vote in order to pass.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 75-2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And I believe we have had discussion on this before, certainly, 2 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
Any discussion from council? Anything you would like to add, Mr. Price?
No, that was
Right.
part of the discussion we had in the last council session.
Great.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
All those in favor of Resolution 75, 2018, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. A note for the record that it was supermajority to pass unanimously.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item for
Thank you all.
consideration.
Thanks again.
Next item for consideration is Resolution Number 76, 2018, authorize an Albin Tractor Company as a sole source vendor for the purchase of parts, service costs, and preventative maintenance for Caterpillar equipment, and to waive the formal competitive bidding process for the purchase of said parts, service costs, and preventative maintenance during fiscal year 2019.
Okay, I'll be with you in 1 second. Every once in a while I get lost. '77, 2018,
76.
76. Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 76, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Just to note, the next three, this one and the next two, are all carryovers that were approved as sole sources last year. We just agreed that we would come each fiscal year in front of council to have those reapproved each fiscal year.
We agreed to that.
Yes.
I'll do a 3-year if you want.
Any discussion from council?
So I see, we have to approve anything over $25,000. In the past year, did that exceed $25,000 in what we spent with them, or is that just in the eventuality that we might? I mean, I'm just kind of wondering how much. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yes, I believe we definitely have spent more than
Yeah.
25,000, but yeah, anytime that a department comes to me with a sole source, the first thing that I try to do is look back to see what the historical is. And that way, if we think that it's going to, I'd rather come in front of you in the beginning than after the fact.
Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 76, 2018, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes unanimously.
Next is Resolution Number 77, 2018, authorizing J.G. Parks and Son Incorporated as a sole source vendor for the purchase of parts, service calls, and preventative maintenance on Western Star trucks, and to waive the formal competitive bidding process for the purchase of said parts, service calls, and preventative maintenance during fiscal year 2019.
Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 77, 2018. Second.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Rice, you said this is another one that we had
Correct.
previously.
J.G. Parks was approved as a sole source by council last year.
Okay, nothing in particular has changed since then?
No.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 77, 2018, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution 77, 2018 passes unanimously.
Okay, the next item for consideration is Resolution Number 78, 2018, authorizing Tix Inc. as a sole source vendor for the purchase of software and support for online ticket sales and to aid the formal competitive bidding process for the purchase of said online ticket sales software and support during fiscal year 2019.
Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 78, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
So just curious, how much does the software cost if it's over 25,000?
I'd have to get an exact number for it. I don't know off the top of my head. But it's our annual, we use it for ticketing for the Civic Center, also for our festivals. I can get you a number.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I want to say last year was around 90,000, I thought was the number that we estimated, but I think that can fluctuate.
Yeah, it depends on the volume of tickets that are being sold.
So you pay you pay.
Yes, it's a 25% or 25 cent per ticket fee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is lower than competitors, and the system has performed very well for us over the years.
Good. How long have you used it?
Again, I'd have to look back. It's been multiple years. It's been many years that we've used it.
Fair enough.
Could you just state your name and position just for the record?
Yes,
So for the
Steve
minutes.
Miller, Director of Recreation Parks and Tourism for the county.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 78, 2018, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution 78, 2018 passes unanimously. Good job,
Next is-
Mr. Miller.
Next is Resolution Number 79, 2018, authorizing Big Ass Fans as a sole source vendor for the purchase of industrial fans and to aid the formal competitive bidding process for the purchase of said industrial fans during fiscal year 2019.
Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 79, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. If you could let.
Yep. Chris Bitters, General Manager of the Delmarva Shorebirds.
Thank you, sir.
So how many fans are we talking? I mean, over $25,000 per fans? I guess that's my question. So could you explain what these are going to be used for and things like that?
You want me to take that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. These are large scale outdoor fans. I have a tear sheet if you'd like to see one. Basically, on the third floor of the stadium, the open area, it's called luxury level. It can become very stale up there if you don't have air movement. So there would be a potentially, they'd engineer it out, but it would probably be 3 fans up there. Also in the executive club, which is the same size as the luxury level. It's just an enclosed space. There would be a potential for 3 or 4 fans in there due to the very high ceiling and the amount of work that it takes the AC in that room to cool the room. We feel like that would be a good application, as well as in the luxury suites, which there are 6 of those with generally the same height ceiling as the executive club, to allow the AC units to hopefully work a little less and utilize the air from the fans.
And the research that was done to come to this company is the amount, and Chris has that, basically the amount of stadiums that use this fan for the reason of, like you mentioned, the height, the space, versus having to put multiple fans in, and what efficiencies they actually provide too as well. So they're commonly used in the stadium setting.
For perspective, the fan blades range from 8 feet wide to 14 feet wide. And so the goal of it is to move, instead of having a fan that's spinning whatever miles per hour to make air move, they move a much slower rate, but move a lot more air at the same time, if that makes sense. So that's.
And part of the efficiency is sound, that these don't make noise, so you're getting the air movement, but not the noise that you might get with a bunch of smaller fans.
You said they're going to be used in the luxury suites. Is that something that the county's responsible for, or is that something that Seventh Inning Stretch is responsible for the expenses?
So
of,
both
like, setting those up.
Yeah, this and the next project, we're in the final phase of the improvements at the Purdue Stadium as part of the lease agreement. So we're now in that fan amenities portion, which are creature comfort fan type projects. So this is part of that overall project. But as far as the maintenance and all the rest, that would be the team's responsibility moving forward. But
Okay. All right.
They're the only ones that build this fan?
They have a patent on this exact fan, yes.
So that's the only place you can buy it?
Through the research, we were unable to find other vendors that create something that is industrial like this. And like we said, that's where the research came through with this different stadiums that are using this product.
Yeah. In addition, they would be the installers of the product as well, which when they install it, they comes with a 10-year non-prorated warranty, because they're going to engineer it to fit the space, make sure it's hung right, all those things. It's not just your. It sounds weird. I know we all have house fans at our house that we went to Home Depot and installed, but it's a different, a product than that.
I know I've dealt with, in the poultry industry, fans that move a lot of air, and I understand what you're talking about when you say noise and CFMs and all that. I know what that's all about, but it seems like we're doing a lot of this sole source here lately, and you're going to work yourself right out of a job, man. If you keep doing all this sole source stuff.
Well, actually, the reason why we do these is so that we're not spending time and effort on projects that we don't need to.
Yeah, no, but we're talking about spending money too, so, we want to be sure to
Correct,
save
but
money when.
we got to understand also there's indirect costs if we turn around and actually put out an RFP and do this proposal. If we know something is what we're looking for and it's reasonably priced and it works for what we want it to do, if it makes sense, which is why I said in the beginning, if it makes sense to sole source something, I will come to you. If it doesn't, I'm going to deny it before it even gets to this level. So again, if there's something, and that's what I make the department heads know and understand, is that it's going to be their responsibility to go through and come to me and say, this is why we want to use this product. So you're right, we could absolutely put out a bid for some of these items, but if we're going to come to the same conclusion, then
Sometimes that keeps people honest.
Absolutely,
about,
which is why we're
your vendors. When I'm talking about your vendors now,
correct.
To put things. If somebody knows they're the sole source vendor, that pretty much.
But they also
tells the
know in this
story.
instance they have a patent. It's proprietary. They're the only ones that make it. They're the only ones that sell it, and which is why they're profitable. So
you don't think there's another fan that's made that'll do the same job this one's done?
I do not.
So
It
this
seems
would,
like if you're remodeling, this is part of the remodeling phase. So why you sole source? Why wouldn't you do a bidding process?
Well, like we said, we certainly could put together a bid for this and have to design it in a way where we're not just saying we want a fan. Because if we put a bid together for what we're trying to get out of this product, they're the only ones that are going to be able to bid because they have a patent for this type of product. So what you're saying is you're trying to figure out how to put that bid together to get the end result of what we're trying to do. When this product is what we want, and we are feeling like it's the efficient. Like we said, we can put a bunch of fans up there, but it's not going to be as efficient as these specialized product, as you can see in a lot of stadiums that they're being used at.
Really coming from the other end of it, if I'm a vendor and I get this bid and it's already spec'd in that it's a product that I know I can't make, but only these other people, I'm not gonna waste my time to even bid on it. We see that in the sod business quite a bit. Some sod farms have relationships where they get their certain seed blends spec'd into something, so we know we can't even bid on it because we don't have those seed varieties. They already knew that this is who they wanted to use. They made that spec with their seed variety, so it's the same thing. I mean, if I was a vendor, I wouldn't want to bother bidding on it.
You know, it reminds me of a discussion I had a few years back in reference to schools that were being built in Wicomico County. And a gentleman I was talking to who's in the brick industry locally was complaining because he said, well, they've completely put me out of the bidding system because they were asking for such a specialized brick that my company couldn't even qualify. And he goes, to be quite honest with you, you don't need the specialized brick. It's just a brick, and that's going to go into the school. But he was literally, isolated from the bidding process because of the particular brick that they were looking for. So I'm wondering if, with what we're looking for with this fan, and I will ask the same question with the chairs that follow, whether we have narrowed the field so greatly that we're only dealing with one company that has the capability to produce a product, and we could be paying premium price for something that we've created that isolated need for. If you follow me.
And I would argue that that's why we're trying to do the research to say this is the specialized product we want. From a purchasing standpoint, in general, this is the last resort for what we want to do. That's why I'm not up here for, I could show you the amount of bids that come through my office. We try our best to open it up to the market, to basically do not limit, like Matt said, do not limit the spec so broadly, which is what we would be doing if we wanted to bid these projects out, to say this is what we know is out there for this type of fan amenity type product, that type of thing. If we were talking about just generalized seating or generalized fans not in a stadium setting, I would absolutely say you are correct. Let's put together a spec that is open and competitive for all.
Because, it begs to ask, are these, I'm going to put both these in the same batch, are both of these companies, are they selling all their fans and all their chairs to every stadium in the country? That, to me...
It might very well be because they have the patent on it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between the brick.
Right, but you can have a patent on this chair. That wouldn't be the same as a patent on that chair right in front of us, but both chairs serve the same purpose.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. It sounds to me like you're saying, oh, no one else makes this fan. But I wouldn't guess that this company was selling every fan to every stadium in the entire country. I'd have to think there would be a lot more vendors out there. What you're doing is saying you want to go to single source for this fan, as opposed to an RFP for multiple options of different fans that might do the job just as well.
Well, and the reason we're saying that is based on the research we've done. We have not been able to find some product similar to this that does what this product does.
I guess it begs the question, and I guess it would be for this resolution as well as the next one, what is it about this fan or these chairs that you feel so specialized that it absolutely has to be, this and nothing else?
Yeah, with this, as we start with the fan, which is what we're on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
With regards to commercial fans in these applications, this fan is designed to fit what we're trying to accomplish, particularly with our location. It's designed for coastal communities, high humidity communities, and being outdoor space. And it's designed to move at a very low rate of speed while moving a ton of air versus ceiling fans, which we have in that area. There's a couple of them up there, but they're rolling around at 8 million miles an hour, and are not effective to what that area is. So that's where we've come to the conclusion that utilizing this particular fan for that particular space makes the most sense. From a reference standpoint, not every baseball stadium has fans, but these particular fans are in 17 different baseball stadiums, 7 NFL stadiums, and more than 7 other speedways and other type of places. And that's what these guys are known for. They also are used in other applications as well, and they make a lot of other fans besides these, but these particular ones are what we're looking for that space. It's not just a routine ceiling fan. If we can go to Home Depot and buy them, that wouldn't be a problem. We would run over and get them done.
So what's the cost of this very, very specialized fan compared to, one that you may just, go buy, retail, something like that for?
That's gonna be a tough comparison because they don't achieve the same end goal. They don't have the quiet plus the air movement. You're not apples to apples when you're looking at those prices.
And I don't have a total cost because it really depends on how many like you said, they'll come in, they'll engineer how many fans are needed for the space itself. So we just know that it's over 25,000.
Right. Do you have a per unit cost? Can you just, over 25,000 could be 26,000 or it could be a lot more. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
It was in the 30s.
Yeah, I would think everything was somewhere. It was just over the marks, I would say.
Gotcha.
That includes not only the fans, but obviously the installation of them too. It's not like just the fan cost and that. It's all like I say bundled. They would price it out separately, but the next step would be to have them come in and do formal engineering.
Okay. And you said that these would be furnished in the skyboxes too? Is that right?
Not the large ones. The large ones would be in the outdoor space.
There's a slightly smaller version that would be in the indoor spaces.
Yeah, there's the Essence was the outdoor one, then it's called the Haiku fan. That would be in the indoor space.
But, according to the contract, the county's not supposed to furnish the skyboxes though. Our signed contract with them says the county shall not be responsible for repair, replacement, blah, 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 or,
Can you speak up more?
oh, sorry. For repair, replacement, or furnishing of the skyboxes.
Yeah, that's, in my opinion at least, leading more towards couches, tables, chairs, temporary fixtures. The way the programming has gone is that anything that's permanently affixed to the building that's a fixture can be part of these projects. If you're talking about, I'm not asking to buy a couch or a table or an end table or a chair. We're talking about furnishings. You're talking about those types of furnishings versus a permanent fixed piece that, regardless of whether we're an operator of the stadium or somebody else is, we're not going to take it with us. It would remain as part of the fixed piece of the facility.
Hope you don't take the couch. Either.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Hang on, gentlemen. Gotta go. Got ahead of myself.
We're on 79.
Thank you. All those in favor of Resolution 80-2018, say aye.
That was 79.
I'm sorry. Sorry, you just told me. All those in favor of Resolution 79, 2018, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Chair votes aye.
Yeah, we're good.
Do we have to have a 6 or a 5?
5.
That's a 5. Resolution 79, 2018 passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Next is Resolution Number 80, 2018, authorizing 4 Tops Premium Seating as a sole source vendor for the purchase of airflow breathable stadium seats and table units, and to waive the formal competitive bidding process for the purchase of said stadium seats and table units during fiscal year 2019.
Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 80, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Rice?
Yeah, so an overview of the product, sorry. trying to get my ducks in a row.
Don't get like me.
So an overview of the product is basically Four Tops is a proprietary company that designed again, this doesn't sound like rocket science, I know, but they designed a half-moon table with 4 stadium-style seats that are affixed to them with airflow technology. That the plan is to utilize those in the Hardball Cafe, which is the second-tier catered type area of the stadium. Why that product is unique and different than any other product that's out there. You can go buy a table and have 4 chairs at a table. We all have it in our kitchen. We have it anywhere. The table is designed in a half moon, and the chairs are on a swivel essentially. So your footprint is tremendously smaller, as well as the 4 people sitting at the table are going to be able to both face the field of action as well as and make it a social space. With these particular seats, from who uses them, where they at, over 50% of Major League Stadiums, or almost 50% of Major League Stadiums, and almost 50% of minor league stadiums, all have some level of 4 top tables. The new Atlanta Braves Stadium, if you ever look at pictures of that, you'll see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 4 top tables. This creates a very social space in that Hardball Cafe area that would be able to, again, create a new fan amenity that would permanently fix to the table and the chairs. And the chairs spin, so your ingress and egress are much different than a normal patio chair with 4 tables facing at it. Because currently, if you're in, say, the Hardball Cafe or even a picnic area, you're facing each other and not the field, or you're facing the field and not each other. And so this complements that social space.
Do they have a patent on this too?
They do.
So they're the only one make mesh seats?
They are working on the patent for the mesh. The 4 top is patent. Yes.
The configuration.
The configuration of the 4 top seating.
And, again, the agreement says that the county shouldn't be responsible for concession equipment.
This isn't concession equipment.
But it's going to be used in the four.
It's going to be in the seating area.
Yeah, this is, I mean, we replaced all the stadium seats, so this would be stadium seating just in a luxury area where you could sell parties and groups, but it's a fixed seating, just like the other seats.
So it's not outside the concession area, or?
It's not a concession equipment. Concession equipment would be those things like hot dogs, refrigerators. All those things are concessions equipment, things you cook with, things that you would produce food with. This is a seating area seat. This is a half moon table with 4 chairs around it on swivels, so that just like Steve's sitting here, I can get up without interrupting Steve. And also I don't need a much larger footprint for us to have this seating configuration.
But you don't eat off of this table.
Yeah, you eat off.
These you eat off of.
Yeah, you would eat off of these tables in there. So it's a half moon table, I guess is the best way to do it. You can configure them in 2s, you can configure them in 4s. But it's not concessions equipment. Concessions equipment would be things that you could utilize to prepare food with.
But it supports the concessions area, though.
Supports, we feed everybody in the stadium.
Yeah.
And so all seats support concessions.
But he's trying to say this is not stadium seating.
It is stadium seating.
Yeah,
Currently, we have
currently
a rectangular table there with 4 plastic chairs. That's what this will be replacing.
That doesn't work.
We're trying to modernize and improve the stadium so it'd be a viable space for another 20 years.
Is all the stadium seats breathable? All the stadium seats?
No, this would make this a different style seat.
Mm-hmm. Is there a difference in the cost of a breathable seat compared to a different seat? Or
Yes, they would generally be more expensive. And this is a
breathable?
much, this is a much smaller area.
And how many
You
seats-
can't put these types of seats in the entire stadium, but it would be tremendously costly.
But, so how many seats are we talking about?
You're talking about 100, approximately.
Mr. Miller, how much does the county get from the concessions that are sold there?
We don't collect concessions as far as food concessions.
Yeah, we don't get a cut of that? The county doesn't?
No.
Oh, okay. But we're going to buy the table to support the concessions?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at this is, back before we started these renovations, we had bleachers at the stadium, and they worked for a number of years, but it's not the best experience for fans. And so part of this whole renovation project has been to seal up the building, do all the structural things which we've done and completed, and now we're in that last phase, which in the agreement was agreed upon to be fan amenity, creature comfort type thing. So, these are tickets to be sold just like any other seats. It's just this is a special section that you'd buy for a party or group or a group of four where you want to watch the ball game. So
Okay, so.
we don't get a direct for hot dog sold or whatnot, but this I think achieves the goal that we outlined in the agreement.
Well, you know, I get, I'm sorry. Talking to people that go to the stadium, what I hear is the cost keeps going up, you know, and we realize the cost of everything's gone up since the stadium opened, but I had one lady tell me that it was a lot better when they just had the bleachers and it was less money and she could take the family there and it didn't cost her as much, so now she doesn't go as much because we have improved it so much that it's so much more expensive to even go. So is that what we're doing? Are we pricing, are we by buying the more expensive things? And it's nicer to have nice stuff, it's real, we realize that, but is it, are we gonna price ourselves out of the market where people don't even wanna go anymore? Because instead of the promise of $20 for a family of four to go to a ball game that was, when they started the stadium, it's quite a bit more than that now, so.
Mr. Holloway, if I may, on Mondays, you can buy a ticket to my game for $2.
Not everybody goes to ball
You
games
can,
on Mondays.
I'm just saying, in the summertime Monday, you can come out to my game and buy a ticket for $2 in one of those new fancy reserve seats we have. You can buy a hot dog for $2 and you can buy a small soda for $2. On Sundays, if you bring 2 canned food items to a ball game, you can buy a ticket for $3 and make a donation to our local food banks to support them. You can buy a $3 ticket. On Wednesdays, we have a Silver Slugger program that we have over 1,000 members of, that for $20, you can get a lower level or upper level reserve seat. 25 in the lower level or upper level is $20. And you get every Wednesday game, which averages between 8 and 10 a season. So that's about $2, $2.50, and we have over 1,000 members in our senior program that are able to come out every Wednesday. And I invite any of you to come out and see these seniors that are on fixed incomes. They're able to come to every Wednesday game, have a guaranteed seat that they sit in, and have a great time on Wednesday for $20 for the entire season. Not for one game.
How much is a bottle of water?
Bottle of water is $4.
Thank you.
And Chris, I'd like to thank you, because when I come out, the ticket seller always says, "Well, are you a senior citizen, sir?" I say, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, here's another discount." "Are you a veteran, sir?" "Yes, I am." "Here's another discount." And I'd like to thank you for those. I need those.
Yeah.
Well, John, you also told them you're a county council member, too.
Yeah. Our tickets range from $9 to $14. That's the ticket price. Minimum wage has gone from $5.25 an hour when I started the general manager of Shorebirds to now I'm paying my employees and those ushers and ticket takers minimally $10.10 an hour. Those costs have doubled on us. The price of things have gone up. None of the price adjustments have been made have been anything with regards tied to any single improvement that's happened to the stadium. Not saying that, ooh, we have these new things, we can charge more. Our goal is to continue to sell more. We do base our pricing models based on the expenses of the stadium that we pay, including utilities and other things that we do. Our bus contracts, gas doesn't get any cheaper. Our team travels over 12,000 miles by bus per season. All these things go up, and that's what dictates how we try to base our model based on the market, but we don't base it. We raised prices 2 years ago, and we told fans, which we are continuing to do, that we're going to lock those in for several years moving forward, which we're doing again today. So none of the improvements have been based on that, you know, we've got this new thing. This is a premium area that comes with catering for a group outing. So if the council happened to book an outing to the Shorebirds, you may choose to book this area. That's what these approximately, I'll say, 100 seats. There are other seats that we will be purchasing to complement these seats as well in those areas.
You said everything's up. Is attendance up?
Attendance is about flat this year, I would say. But last year, we've lost 3 Saturday games due to rain. In April, we didn't have a game over 40 degrees.
I went Saturday night, it was packed, stadium looked great, screen looks really nice. I had a 4-year-old granddaughter that said it was the best birthday ever.
We're very glad to hear that, and we're very glad to hear that. When weather has been good this year, attendance has been great. When it's pouring down rain, with the new field, we can still play, so we do play on a lot of those nights, but it challenges weather. And when it was 40 degrees in April, I don't care what you are, I can't fool you that it's going to be warm at the ballpark when it's 40 degrees outside. It's just the reality of the situation.
When did the paid parking go to effect, and how much have you generated off of that?
I wouldn't be able to give you exact numbers, but the year was in 2009.
what's
So it's
it
been
cost
over
per
9
car?
years. It's $4 per car.
$4 per car.
Well, and-
Gentlemen, yes, go
Yeah,
on.
I do see in here, it says that the franchisor shall be responsible for the maintenance and replacement of any temporary seating, including the catered areas, picnic tables and chairs. So this being permanent seating, that's where it comes into us. So, so you'd be supplementing that with
We'll be supplementing this with temporary
the fact that
fixtures.
it's fixed. This comes us, but if we just were, we wouldn't be responsible for we don't have chairs there now, but so this is a new expense because it's fixed.
And this is for clarity,
Okay.
with regards to new expense, it's what's part of the programming that we've laid out as part of the agreement. So it's not like we're asking for new dollars here. These are all dollars that were agreed to in 2015 when we built the renovation and restoration and improvement plan of the facility. So these are all existing dollars as part of that original amount of money that we've now are basically requesting to spend.
Thanks for bearing with us. We strayed a little bit from the sole source topic.
We did. I'm sorry.
That tends to
My
happen.
apologies.
We don't get to talk to you that much.
Well, I'm planning to come in the fall to provide you another update on our community report that I did last year.
Good.
Very excited about some of the things we've done, and after we're done here, I'm heading to National Night Out where we're at as well. So
Yes.
We make it so fun for him, John. I'm sure he loves it.
Enjoys coming.
So I do appreciate you coming and presenting the information to us.
I've been enjoying the bark at the park. I take my Newfoundland there, and usually get quite the reaction to the giant dog walking through the stadium.
yeah, if you want to see big dogs, talk to Mr. Hall over there because woo, probably the two biggest in the stadium that night.
All those in favor of Resolution 80, 2018, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion is carried. Resolution 80, 2018 passes. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your
Good
time
evening.
tonight.
Thank you.
Took up more than it probably designed.
Appreciate it.
Mr. President, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Mr. Taylor, good evening.
Good evening. Two items tonight. The first is for introduction, Legislative Bill Number 2018-09. It is an act to repeal the current Chapter 133 of the Wicomico County Code entitled Dogs and Other Animals, and enact a new Chapter 133 titled Animal Control. This is, of course, just introduction. It is not for public hearing tonight. I know you're probably wanting to get on a short schedule tonight, but let me just say a couple of things to bring people up to date, because this has been through a number of work sessions. At the last work session, Mr. Balsamo made a suggestion that we change the definition of service animal. We have made that change. There are a couple of additions that were not in the draft that was discussed at the last work session, and I'll real quickly summarize those. The first is a provision that's been added to the dangerous dog section.
Could I do an introduction first before you go into discussion?
Yeah, I thought I did.
Entertain a motion to introduce Legislative Bill 2018-09.
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Okay, pardon me. On the, what I was mentioning on the addition to the dangerous dog section, it's the very final subpart G. It's a new provision that would apply if somebody brings into the county an animal that has been deemed dangerous in another jurisdiction. And the idea there is to essentially not have guard against dangerous dogs being brought in and essentially not knowing about them. And this would require that the person that brings it in, the owner or whoever, notify animal control, and that animal control get involved and evaluate the animal and what might need to be done under our ordinance. So that's a new provision. We also ran by the Board of Education the provision on animals on school grounds. The thinking being that the Board of Education might have their own regulations already in place, and if they did, to coordinate with them. As it turns out, they apparently do not, but they're in the process. The response was from Dr. Hanlon, they're in the process of developing regulations. However, there's no particular deadline on that, and I think the indication was it would be at least several months. I don't think we want to hold up the ordinance for that. What we did is we changed the language somewhat of that section so that when they do adopt their regulations, that if there's any conflict between what we have in the ordinance and their regulations, that their regulations would govern as far as school grounds are concerned, with one exception, and that exception is dogs and animals being brought in vehicles temporarily. I'm not talking about somebody that would be there all day, although I guess that could conceivably happen. But I think it would be almost impossible to prohibit people coming to school grounds to pick up children, to have a conference with teachers or whatever. And frequently, they would have an animal with them, either enclosed inside of a vehicle or perhaps in a cage in the back of a pickup truck or something like that. It does allow the Board of Education, if they want to prohibit that at a particular parking area, they can put up signage for that purpose. So it does give them kind of a safety valve in that regard. When we were doing this, we also thought that maybe this same provision should apply to public recreation areas, the county's public recreation areas in particular. I don't believe there are any state public recreation areas in the county, but if there are, it would apply to them. And that is that they might make their own regulations. And that if they do, they would supersede what we have in our ordinance. So they don't have to come into the council and have the council essentially amend the ordinance or pass a resolution. We just thought that would be a lot easier for administration, for all concerned. We've made a few typo-type changes, not substantive, and basically that's it. That's the ordinance. I would suggest that it's a long one. You might want to read it some night, and if anybody else wants to and has any comments about it, there is going to be a public hearing, of course, but if there really is something substantive, I believe it would be a good idea, if possible, to contact Mrs. Hurley by email, by telephone, whatever, and send it in so we can at least look at it in a timely manner rather than getting everything when we have a public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mrs. Hurley, all the parties that we've had on notice to notify have been forwarded this.
That is correct. The Sheriff's Department, I did not send them the most updated one, but I can certainly do that.
Okay. And what about particular citizens that I know had expressed interest or concern over the last few months?
The members of the Animal Ordinance Committee did receive a copy of it, but as far as individual citizens, I have not sent it to anyone.
Okay. I don't know how many there are, if any.
It is posted on the county's website, though.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion from council? Seeing none. All those in favor of introducing legislative bill 2018-09, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Legislative bill 2018-09 has been formally introduced.
And we can have the public hearing on that on September the 4th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
And I did have some comments from a citizen that I'll pass around to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to point out, I won't be able to attend the September 4th meeting. I don't think I need to be here for the public hearing, but I just would note that, you know, so.
Did you set a public hearing on relocation?
Joe asked if we set a public hearing on the relocation.
On the relocation,
For the
Forest
easement, the
conservation.
forest conservation.
yes, that's going to be September the 4th as well.
You set that, okay.
Yeah, I don't think we did that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can postpone the public hearing for a night that Mr. Taylor is going to be here if that's what council wants to do.
I think that would be good.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
It's not like it's been a while.
So we can do it the second meeting in September.
Okay. Yeah, okay, good suggestion.
Yeah, the other item for tonight, and I think I drew the short straw on this one, is the year-end fraud hotline report. It is in the briefing book. I can summarize it real quickly if you want me to by just saying that the call activity summary for this past fiscal year, 2018, the fraud hotline received 3 incident reports, 1 pertaining to customer relations, 2 reports on fraud. There were 5 calls made to the fraud hotline number that were considered general inquiry calls not resulting in a completed report, such as hang-ups, wrong numbers, etc. And just to put that in perspective, since the hotline program was established in 2009, the county has received a total of 49 reports, and that will be through the end of this past fiscal year. I can go over the history of the hotline if you'd like me to. I don't know that it's in the report.
Any questions from council?
Do we need to accept this report as, no? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Roser, good evening.
Yes, good evening. I call your attention to Council Resolution 81, 2018.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 81, 2018. Second?
Thank you. Each year, this office is required to present an audit plan. This plan, as usual, is based on several criteria, including audits recommended based on the risk assessment, respondents to a short form in cooperation with external auditors, and based on observations, perceptions, and other qualitative criteria. The plan includes 7 operational, 7 performance projects, and 3 other projects. And this and all audit plans, as always, represents a roadmap. Other priorities of greater concern to the county may come to the forefront in the year that may subordinate the plan, and as such, there is no guarantee that we can complete all audits listed here. But be assured, however, that we will make every attempt to complete the program. The committee and the auditors wish to thank the council for consideration of our annual audit plan, and we look forward to working with management in the spirit of cooperation to improve efficiency and effectiveness of county government. I respectfully submit Steve Roser, CPA, Internal Auditor, and I will be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from council? Seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 81, 2018, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Roser. At this time, we open the floor for public comments. If you have any comments you'd like to make, come to the podium, please. State your name, your county of residence, and your concerns. That concludes public comments. Council comments. Seeing none, entertain a motion to adjourn. We're going into a closed session. Entertain a motion to adjourn so we can go into a closed administrative session in accordance with Section 3-104 of the Local Government Article of the Entity Code of Maryland to discuss an internal auditor project update.
Thanks.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.